This is Dubliners by James Joyce, and this is a Dubliner. I want to talk about this beautiful edition of James Joyce's Dubliners, which I just received in the post yesterday here in Canada. It came directly from Paris. This is a new edition published by a small publishing house based in Paris called Selby Press. It's an Irish publisher, but they're based in Paris. And they're founded by two people who, in their day jobs, have dream day jobs. They work at Shakespeare and Company, the bookstore. And this is a beautiful edition, an absolutely beautiful edition. This is actually a numbered edition. This is actually number 73 of 800. They've only published 800 of this particular print run, and this is number 73 of that 800. This is a gorgeous edition for several reasons. First of all, of course, it's a brand new edition, an actual book, not an e-book, by a small press, a brand new small press, in an age when we're being told that the book is dead and that traditional publishing is dead. And here are these two people working in Paris who decided to start a small press. So fair play to them for that, and that's actually why I'm talking about this, because I think this is the perfect stocking stuffer for the book lover in your life. So with just 6 days to go to Christmas, this is perhaps the book you need to buy. And actually, the people who actually started this company, the Selby Press, they actually crowdfunded to actually get this print run started. They had a goal of €10,000. They exceeded that. They made more than €11,000 in their crowdfunding campaign, and from then got going on the actual edition of the book. The book is beautifully illustrated by the artist Stephen Crow. Stephen Crow is actually he's an English artist. He's based in Seattle, and for the last several years he's been working on a project called Awake in Progress, where he illustrates every page of Joyce's Finnegan's Wake. So he was the ideal artist to call upon for this book. And so here's an example of one of the illustrations. Hope you can see that. That's from The Dead. So it's got, I think, 16 or 17 illustrations, and they're all just wonderful black and white pen and ink illustrations, and just beautiful. It also has this fantastic introduction by the Irish novelist Paul Murray, who wrote Skippy Dice. Very, very good introduction, and very, very interesting introduction, especially if you're Irish and especially if you're from Dublin, which I am. So this is a wonderful, wonderful book, and a wonderful edition of Dubliners that any book lover should love. Now, of course, chances, of course, you already have an edition of Dubliners, and if you don't have an edition of Dubliners, you're probably familiar with at least one of its stories, probably the last story, which is called The Dead, which, of course, is perhaps the most famous short story ever written in English, and, of course, it has the most famous closing passage of any short story ever written in English, and one of the most beautiful passages as well. But it's actually nice to actually get this, because I have other editions of Dubliners, but I haven't actually read the book for quite some time. And I was looking at this yesterday and then again this morning, and it's so nice to actually be reminded of the other wonderful stories in this collection. Joyce set this book. He had actually left Dublin by the time he wrote this. But he set this book in Dublin. So most of the stories take place in the late 1800s or early 1900s, and so they're stories very much based upon his own childhood and youthful experiences of growing up in the city. And it's very, very, it's a wonderful evocation of what the city was like. Of course, Joyce famously called Dublin a centre of paralysis, and the stories kind of illustrate that idea of different paralysis in the city, like social paralysis and economic paralysis. And of course, it is a city that is ruled in these stories. It is ruled very much by the church, by the Catholic Church, which plays a very prevalent part in many of the stories. But it's a wonderful collection to show a kind of a slice of what the city was like at the end of the 19th century. It was a very interesting time in Dublin, because there was a burgeoning nationalist movement. There was also a Gaelic revival going on, but at the same time, of course, it was an imperial city, like it was the second city of the British Empire at the time. So I do urge you, if you can, to get this book in the next 3 or 4 days for the book lover in your life, and I'll put a link to the website where you can actually order copies of the book. And we actually have just had a huge snowfall. Here I am, 4,000 miles away from my hometown, and feeling very, very homesick with this. And I now am going to do something I don't ordinarily do, which is actually recite. Recite the closing passage of the book to you. A few light taps upon the pane made him turn to the window. It had begun to snow again. He watched sleepily the flakes, silver and dark, falling obliquely against the lamplight. The time had come for him to set out on his journey westward. Yes, the newspapers were right. Snow was general all over Ireland. It was falling on every part of the dark central plain, on the treeless hills, falling softly upon the bog of Allen, and farther westward, softly falling into the dark, mutinous Shannon waves. It was falling, too, upon every part of the lonely churchyard on the hill where Michael Fury lay buried. It lay thickly drifted on the crooked crosses and headstones, on the spears of the little gate, on the barren thorns. His soul swooned slowly as he heard the snow falling faintly through the universe, and faintly falling, like the descent of their last end, upon all the living and the dead. So yes, it's an absolute honour to be able to read that to you. So once again, James Joyce's Dubliners, wonderful, beautiful edition. And in an age when everyone is saying that traditional publishing is over, here is proof that it isn't. So, from Eganville, Merry Christmas.